Believe it or not, the Hollywood scandals of the past were even more outrageous than those we see today. Back then, studios and powerful figures had the freedom to engage in and cover up serious crimes thanks to the traditional values of society at the time. From concealing misconduct with minors to scandalous affairs with colleagues, here are 18 shocking scandals that Hollywood tried to hide. Marilyn Monroe's death. Where there's power, there's often scandal, and the White House is no exception. In the early 1960s, with the United States led by its most charming president, it was inevitable that Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's most glamorous starlet, would make her way to Washington. The saga began in February 1962, when Monroe received an invitation to a dinner party honoring President John F. Kennedy. This was not their first encounter. Previous meetings had revealed an undeniable flirtation between the two. This time, however, Kennedy took the bold step of asking for her phone number. He called her the very next day, inviting her to his home in Palm Springs, California, conveniently while First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy was away. Despite the Secret Service's efforts to conceal evidence of their clandestine meetings, rumors began to circulate following that California weekend. Kennedy, known for his many extramarital affairs, had guests who observed, it was obvious that they were intimate and that they were staying there together for the night. However, the union of Hollywood and political royalty did not end happily. Monroe's troubled childhood had left her emotionally and psychologically vulnerable, and she reportedly developed deeper feelings for Kennedy than he had for her. His waning interest coincided with a series of personal disappointments for Monroe, leading her further into alcohol and drug abuse. Tragically, on August 4, 1962, she was found dead in her home from a drug overdose, which was ruled a probable suicide. The mysterious death of George Reeves. For the most part, superheroes don't die, which made it all the more engrossing for the public when Superman actor George Reeves was discovered dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. While the star's suicide would have been gossipy enough on its own, the rumors that emerged afterward turned it into a major talking point. Notably, Reeves was said to be having an affair with the wife of Eddie Mannix, an infamous Hollywood fixer. Allegedly, Mannix's wife, Toni Mannix, confessed on her deathbed that her husband had Reeves killed in an act of revenge. Although there is no incontrovertible evidence to suggest that the small screen's Clark Kent was murdered, the urban legend continues to swirl to this day. Charlie Chaplin was casting couch. Charlie Chaplin, an iconic figure in Hollywood's golden age, was known not only for his cinematic brilliance, but also for his controversial relationships with young actresses, reflecting the exploitative nature of the casting couch culture. As a powerful filmmaker, Chaplin often found himself in positions of influence over aspiring talents seeking fame. His early relationship with Edna Purviance began when she was just 19, setting a troubling precedent. Chaplin's marriage to 16-year-old Mildred Harris soon turned tumultuous, leading to a public divorce filled with scandalous revelations about his behavior. Another notorious involvement with Lita Grey resulted in a rushed marriage and a highly publicized divorce that detailed his inappropriate conduct. Chaplin's final marriage to Una O'Neill, whom he wed when he was 54 and she was 18, further exemplified the complex dynamics of power and vulnerability in Hollywood. Despite his genius, Chaplin's legacy is overshadowed by these relationships, serving as a stark reminder of the darker side of fame and the exploitation within the entertainment industry. The death of Theda Bara. Theda Bara's death in 1935 was initially ruled as accidental due to carbon monoxide poisoning. Found in her car with the engine running, Bara's death raised questions due to bruises on her body and strained relationships with her lover and ex-husband. The Hollywood community quickly managed the media narrative to focus on Bara's life and career, rather than the mysterious circumstances of her death. Fatty Arbuckle's trials. Roscoe. Fatty Arbuckle's trials in the early 1920s were among Hollywood's first major scandals. In 1921, during a party in a San Francisco hotel, actress Virginia Rappe fell ill and died 4 days later from peritonitis. Arbuckle was accused of assaulting Rappe, which allegedly led to her injuries. He faced 3 trials between 1921 and 1922. The first 2 ended in hung juries, and the third resulted in an acquittal with a formal apology from the jury. Despite his acquittal, the damage to his public image was irreversible. Arbuckle's trials led to the creation of the Hays Code, a set of moral guidelines for film production. The Black Dahlia murder. The murder of Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, in January 1947 was one of Hollywood's most infamous unsolved mysteries. Her mutilated body was found in a vacant lot in Los Angeles, and her connections to Hollywood fueled intense public interest. Short was known to socialize with various industry figures, leading to speculation about her relationships with influential men. The sensationalized media coverage and exaggerated details created a scandal that Hollywood sought to downplay to protect its image. Despite extensive investigations, no one was ever charged, and the case remains one of Los Angeles's most famous cold cases. Judy Garland's mistreatment. Judy Garland's abuse during her time at MGM is a well-documented part of Hollywood's dark history. Signed at just 13, Garland faced extreme pressures regarding her appearance, weight, and performance. MGM controlled her life, putting her on a strict diet and prescribing amphetamines to maintain her energy and barbiturates to help her sleep. Her grueling schedule prioritized production over her well-being. The studio's public relations machine crafted a happy persona for Garland that contradicted her reality. Ingrid Bergman's affair. Ingrid Bergman's affair with director Roberto Rossellini in the late 1940s caused a massive scandal. At the time, Bergman was married to her first husband, Peter Lindstrom, and Rossellini was married as well. The affair became public when Bergman became pregnant with Rossellini's child. The scandal was significant because it contradicted Bergman's wholesome image and affected her career. Initially, Hollywood and the media tried to suppress the news, but when it became public, Bergman was blacklisted in Hollywood for about 7 years until her successful comeback in Anastasia. Walt Disney's Nazi sympathies. In the late 1930s, Walt Disney was linked to a secret meeting with Nazi sympathizers, which was a scandalous association given Hollywood's heavy influence by Jewish talent. Disney, as a leading figure in American entertainment, was cautious about his public image, especially as the U.S. had not yet entered World War II, but was increasingly aware of and opposed to Nazi ideologies. The death of actress Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood's death in 1981 during a boat trip to Santa Catalina Island was shrouded in mystery. On the yacht Splendor were her husband, Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis DeVerne. Officially, Wood was said to have drowned after falling into the water, but reports revealed a heated argument between Wagner and Wood and differing statements about when Wood was noticed missing. Wood had bruises and an abrasion on her body, raising questions about the circumstances of her death. In 2011, the case was reopened after the boat's captain claimed he had lied during the initial investigation. Paul Bern's death in 1932 was heavily cloaked in secrecy by MGM. Found dead from a gunshot wound to the head, the official cause was listed as suicide. MGM executives, including Louis B. Mayer, were quick to arrive at the scene, leading to speculation that evidence may have been tampered with. The studio orchestrated a campaign to protect Harlow's public image, emphasizing her grief and keeping her away from the press. Speculations included possible foul play related to Bern's financial dealings or personal conflicts. Clara Bow's affairs. Clara Bow, famously dubbed the It Girl, led a personal life filled with scandal. She was rumored to have had numerous affairs, including alleged liaisons with high-profile celebrities and even members of an entire football team. To safeguard her image, Paramount Pictures took significant steps, hiring publicists to craft a more wholesome persona for her while attempting to suppress negative stories. The studios often provided exclusive access to favorable stories in exchange for positive coverage, and sometimes resorted to legal action to keep private details from becoming public. Despite their efforts, Bow's tumultuous personal life remained a magnet for scandal amid the booming tabloid industry. Thomas Ince's death in 1924, after a party on media mogul William Randolph Hearst's yacht, led to persistent rumors. Officially, the cause of death was heart failure due to acute indigestion, but theories suggested that Hearst accidentally shot Ince while aiming for Charlie Chaplin. Speculation about a cover-up to protect Hearst and other high-profile guests persisted, despite the official cause of death. Errol Flynn's trial. Errol Flynn's 1943 trial for statutory rape was a major scandal in Hollywood. Flynn was accused by two underage girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Satterley, of unlawful intercourse. Warner Brothers provided substantial support during the trial, hiring top legal representation and shaping public perception to suggest the accusers were exploiting Flynn's fame. Flynn was acquitted, but the trial's outcome was influenced by cultural norms that often blame victims and placed a heavy burden of proof on them. Loretta Young's secret child. Loretta Young's secret child with Clark Gable is one of Hollywood's most closely guarded secrets. Young and Gable's affair resulted in an out-of-wedlock pregnancy, which Young and her studio went to great lengths to hide. Young disappeared from the public eye, citing illness, and placed her daughter Judy in an orphanage temporarily. Young later adopted Judy, presenting the situation as a traditional adoption. The truth about Judy's parentage was kept hidden for many years. Patricia Douglas's case. In 1937, Patricia Douglas, a young dancer, was assaulted during an MGM studio party. The party, held at a remote location and heavily supplied with alcohol, facilitated the assault by salesman David Ross. MGM went to extraordinary lengths to suppress the story, influencing media coverage and legal proceedings to undermine Douglas's credibility. Douglas's career ended, and her story was largely forgotten until author David Sten brought it to light decades later. Frances Farmer's story. Frances Farmer's institutionalization in the 1940s was surrounded by controversy. After being arrested for drunk driving and exhibiting erratic behavior, she was declared mentally incompetent and institutionalized. Farmer underwent various psychiatric treatments, including insulin shock therapy and electroconvulsive therapy, though a lobotomy remains unconfirmed. Hollywood's treatment of Farmer's mental health issues was minimized or hidden, reflecting the stigma of the time. Gloria Grahame keeps it in the family. Gloria Grahame won an Academy Award for her role in 1952's The Bad and the Beautiful, starred in It's a Wonderful Life, shared the screen with Humphrey Bogart in A Lonely Place, and Shone in Oklahoma. But her personal life ultimately ruined her professional life. The day after divorcing her first husband, Stanley Clements, she married her second husband, Nicholas Ray, following an affair that began on set. This relationship led to Grahame becoming pregnant in an effort to avoid the societal shame of bearing an extramarital child. However, her career suffered irreparable damage when Ray reportedly walked in on Grahame cheating on him with his own 13-year-old son. If that wasn't scandalous enough, she married for a third time. And after divorcing Cy Howard, her fourth husband was the very same stepson she had allegedly been unfaithful with a decade earlier. This marriage remained common knowledge until 2 years after they tied the knot in 1960. Once the public learned that Grahame had married her former stepson at a time when her new husband's father was trying to gain sole custody of their shared daughter, her reputation and career were left in tatters.